utilize fear to keep away from love. I mean, we talk, all we need is love, right? I mean, we all know that. The Beatles taught us that.
Sure.
But, if you look at the experience of deep love, okay, well, we can look at it this way. There's joy. So, joyous is cool. Hey, man, we're having a great time, And then that deepens, and the experience becomes a little less kind of party-like, and it goes into bliss, which is then a little deeper in the organism, and it's a little more profound. And most people are cool with the joy part of it up to a point, but you don't want to get joy. But bliss becomes, that's a little bit weird. And underneath that is ecstasy, which is ecstasis. It's outside of the definitions. It's outside. And people are terrified of that.
I love to be one of those really slippery terms. There are people who love chess or golf, or they love their country, or they love the flag.
Well, those are objects of this
experience.
Or
they love their friends, or they love their mother, or they love their child, or they love their dog. People use love in a kind of a promiscuous way that covers a lot of varying degrees of emotional connectedness to someone else, And the question is this the kind of thing that's like a clock that you can take it apart, can be reduced to its elements? Is there a sexual dial in the love thing? Is there an intellectual one? Is there compatibility of interest, of food, of music, of travel? You get a different view from different people. It's a psychology probably.
What you're talking about are the objects of love. So there are those things that we attach and we say, I love this, I love that, I love that. I would say that that's not a good definition of love. Love is an experience that we have inside of us. It may be triggered by the outside, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. And like in the Hindu tradition, you have the fourth chakra, this energy center. And when that opens, you experience yourself as love. So I become love rather than I love this object.
It becomes a transcendent experience.
It transcends the ego. It transcends this sense of self that utilizes love as something that gets objectified and then focused on an outside kind of thing, whether it be a person or chess or whatever. So there's this experience, this transcendent experience that, in the Hindu tradition particularly, they talk about I am love. This bhakti yoga is the yoga of love. And it's not I love you, I am love and you are love. And that's one of the ways that unity can be experienced. Not the only one, but one of them.
Well, it may be that love is a little bit like Christianity. There are 41,000 denominations.
Well, as I say, my own belief system about it is there are objects of love, and then there's the experience of love. And the experience of love usually gets distorted through the ego. The ego acts as a filter, and then there's the love. There's this heart feeling, and then something on the outside, or maybe something something we love of chess, whatever it is. The ego takes that and filters this pure experience, and then it becomes an object. So I love chess, I love my wife, I love this, rather than I am love, I am transcendent.
What I guess what I'm hearing you say is that part of how we view love, it comes from a cultural understanding. In other words, culture creates the ingredients which we assume that's what you use to put in to cook up this thing. The other is it's a more transcendent spiritual idea that is universal, that would cut across a cultural overlay.
Yeah, well, that's the idea, the Hindu idea of that it being part of the energy system, and it's the opening up of the energy in a particular way. So I can open up with the fourth chakra. If I open up with the sixth chakra, that's a different experience. That's the experience of infinite knowledge. And I open up the second chakra and I get horny. And it's like looking at these as merely ways of connecting into potential experiences that we have as a human organism.
In a way, it kind of goes to what we've been discussing throughout this. There are altered ways of consciousness, and maybe love is one of those ways that you alter your consciousness of being. And by doing that, you experience what it is to be alive in a different way.
Yeah. And well, any way that we focus our awareness is going to give us a slightly different sense. I mean, we're continuously shifting. If we just sit and just pay attention to what's happening, after a very few minutes, we'll probably notice that we go up into the thinking process, and we get lost in thought. And then if something happens and I hear the sound over here, then the awareness will go to the sound. And depending on what my ego structure is like, I'll be spending more time in one factor than another one. With me, I spend more time in my thinking. But every once in a while, I'll notice my body as the sensation, or sound, or the breathing, or whatever. And the Buddhists have used that as a meditation process. But it's just us. It's just us living our lives. Sure. And we're so quickly moving between one thing and another that we don't notice the discontinuity. It's like these little snapshots of experience that are going so fast that they give us the illusion, just like film does, of movement. And that's what creates that sense of self.
Yeah, it is. In going back to physics, the notion that the universe is this absolutely smooth, continuous thing, and we have that sense about ourselves that it's smooth and continuous, as opposed to little quanta.
Yeah.
At the Planck level.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's not smooth, it's discontinuous, but we view it as smooth, whether, right through Newtonian physics to our kind of sense of how we structure our sense of self. It's this smooth, calm, uninterrupted surface that we have. And, going back to what you're talking about, we, as a species, we have an inherent restlessness. It's very hard for us to stay in the now, in the present. Our mind will take us back to something that happened last week, or some historical event that happened 100 years ago, or we're in the future. We're thinking about the singularity, we're thinking about some kind of landing on another planet or contact. It's very hard to stay in the moment.
Well, it's very hard for somebody that's been conditioned to be out of the moment. But here we are in Thailand, and Thai people don't have the same difficulty unless they've been raised in Bangkok. You go up country, and people are much more in their bodies and in their environments.
And what's interesting is that they're criticized by people in Bangkok. They're told that they're lazy, that they don't have discipline. You know what? They're probably much closer to what our species is human being. They are being.
Yeah.
They're not striving for some progress in the future.
Sure.
They are being the way they are now.
Right. Well, striving for progress in the future is really another way of saying discontinuity from the present experience and a sense of negativity towards the self-image. I'm not good enough. I need to get my Nike, or I'm not whole enough. I need to get laid, but it's all coming from a sense of discontinuity and incompletion.
But you know, Stoics talk about this as well. Is this notion that we're always unsatisfied because we are in desiring something, and it's once we catch what we desire, then we get bored with it. It's hedonic adaptation. We adapt to what we chased and what we caught. But after we finish that buffet, or we marry that woman, within a year or two, our eye, wow, that's a beautiful woman out there, or oh, that's a buffet I want to try. But the second you do that, you see people, they have an idealized notion. It will be different this time. I will be satisfied with this woman. If I can just have that condo with that view of the ocean and the mountains, I will never want anything else.
And it's true for a brief period of time.
And it happens, and then it starts all over again.
Well, exactly,
Dissatisfaction.
exactly, because there's nothing that stays the same. It's always, the continuum is always changing. But this is also built on an image and an experience of ourselves as being incomplete. If I feel complete, if I'm willing to take the chance of really allowing myself to be in this moment totally, there are no problems in the here and now. No problems whatsoever. And this is something as a therapist that I work with people. I have somebody come in that just lost their wife or some very difficult situation. And we would sit and get to a place of sitting here and being here. And then we would talk about problems. Well,